Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. Today I'm going to be doing a little 1 year later plant update, so if you want to see that, then just keep watching. So this plant video will be posted almost a year after my very first plant video. When I uploaded that and it just started taking off, I was in shock. I was like, oh, it has 1,000, 2,000. Like, it has so many, it's crazy. So I figured I'll give the people what they want and update them on my plants a whole year later. See how some are doing, all the new plant life that has grown, some that have not grown too much, and just some new ones here in my apartment. So I'm going to take you around my apartment with me, show you all my plants, and then also show like a little side-by-side of them a year ago and them today. I'm also wearing the exact same outfit that I wore a year ago. So let's get started with the plants. All right, so I'm going to be taking you around my apartment now. I'm also using my big camera, so if it's a little shaky, I'm sorry, I'm weak. But let's start off over here by my window, these ones. So this one was the very first plant that I got in my apartment. I mentioned that in my last video, and something happened to it. I don't know what happened to it. I think root rot. But as I will show you here, this trunk here has just lost all of its little leaves. Don't know what happened to it. Again, think it's root rot, but got one down. The little yellow thing is a little bug, like fly trapper. Has caught no flies, but I threw it in there in case I got mosquito gnats again. And I believe in the last 6 months, I've actually been really good and have not gotten any. What was really making that plant die, and even on the trunk that still has a lot of leaves, is that because those like dying leaves were on there, it was sucking up all the nutrients and making the full one grow. So once I took all the dead stuff off, this top part here continued to grow. So now it's doing very well again. And then the smaller one in the back is one that my friend gave me, and in the last year has just grown so much at the top. As you can see, the leaves that are the brighter green are what has been growing since I've had it in my apartment. Everything else, and the ones with like the little bit of brown, was from when she had it in her apartment. And this guy, my little spider plant here, used to be on my little dining table, and I've since moved it to the same table that the other plant is on, just to give it more sunlight, because it wasn't doing poorly, but it just wasn't growing a whole lot on the dining table because it is a bit more shaded from my one window. And ever since moving it, look at how much it's grown. Like, it's grown up, it's grown out, it's grown so much. They just grow up so fast. Now moving on to what I have on my little coffee tables here. This one is one of the plants that is in my wall, but right now my apartment is going through retrofitting, so if you hear any noises, anything, any ruckus, that is what that is. But I did take it off the wall just because I'm not supposed to have anything there that could fall or get damaged. That way they're not liable. So this is this one, and this is actually a new one. Over the summer, I was gone for about a week, and the one that I had up there just started dying, and then some of the leaves were turning yellow, so I took off the dying leaves. And when I was doing that, full roots were coming out, so I just didn't know what was going on. I put it in more sun, then I was like, more water, less water. I couldn't figure it out. So this is a new arrowhead leaf plant, and this one's doing very well. And then here, yes, I got a third one. So my very first video, you saw my very sad Pilea. And then in my other update, I had another one. This is my third one, and this will be the final one I have, because it will survive. It will survive. Manifesting that law of attraction, you will survive. And if you talk really nice things to them, they grow. Like, I love you. I love you so much. And it is growing. See here? That's new. These little baby ones on the inside, those are new. So, it will survive. And then also, I can't remember if I mentioned this guy in my first video because he was outside for a bit. It was in a little terracotta plant when my cousin had her bridal shower, I believe it was. We did like a Mexican theme, so we had a bunch of little cactuses as the decor. I had it outside on my patio. I was out there sweeping one day and kind of hit the table, and it rolled to its side, and it all happened in slow motion. I was like, Lauren, get it, grab it. and it just kind of like rolled and it hit the floor. And I feel like it just kind of teased me for a bit because it hit the floor, and then when I was like, Lauren, pick it up, and then it shattered. So moved it to this mason jar, and it's doing okay. Has lost a little bit of color, and I believe I did overwater it like a week and a half ago. So I'm not watering it anytime soon. I'm just gonna let it dry out. Just needs a little bit of sun because it used to be like a very bright pink. I also mentioned that my spider plant that was once on my kitchen table is now over in front of my big window, and to replace it, I bought this little flamingo plant, and it's a nice little bright pink, and it's doing pretty well. It hasn't grown much since I got it about a month and a half ago, but I think it's doing pretty well. It's growing some new stuff here, and then these ones do like a lot of moisture, so there was a moment when it kind of looked a little droopy, so I just kind of watered it. I have to water it a bit more than my other plants. All my other plants I typically do every week and a half. This one I do just once a week, so a little bit more often than the other ones. Now moving on to the rest of my plants, because there are so many. Okay, the next one that I'm going to show you is my snake plant. I believe in my other update I mentioned how my dad overwatered it, and it was in this really pretty wicker basket, and because he overwatered it, the basket started to get moldy. Did lose a few bunches, I guess that's what you'll call it, like how each one's in like a little bunch. So did lose a few of that due to root rot, but it has been doing super well. Everything that stayed has been growing so much, and it is growing another little new one. This little guy right there. You see him? And next to my snake plant, I had a super long vine that I had wrapped around itself because it was just getting so long, touching the floor, and I've since replaced that. So this is my new little pothos vine. This one I liked because it did have a few that have like a white and green leaf, so it's mostly like a solid green with those few leaves that have that white in it. And I just think it's so cool because it's not the whole plant, but it's just kind of like one here and there that like make it super bright, super fun. So I love that one. And what I did with that super long one was hang it. So it is now hanging here so it can be as long as it wants. It's actually still wrapped up in itself, and it's that long, but it was growing so much that I was like, I must hang it. It needs more space. It truly deserves it. So now it has that. So moving on to all of my other vines now. Here I had a pothos that had one super long vine, and similar to the arrowhead plant, some of the leaves started dying, and it was a super full plant, and as I would pull the dead leaves, full roots would come out with it. So it's just like, what is going on? But that one really long vine just kept growing, kept having new life. So I was like, I'm going to toss the rest of the plant because at this point there was nothing left except for the one really good vine. And I'm going to propagate the good vine that's left just to see what happens. So since I did that maybe about 4 months ago, I just had it sitting in water with some Monstera roots, which I will get to in a bit. And it grew new roots. And just recently I propagated it into another vine that I have just to make that one more full. So I'll actually show you me planting the video of it right now. So the one that I put it in is this long one that's always just been hanging on the end of these shelves. So here is that vine, and it's doing so well. It's taken to the plant so well, and it just makes this one look so much more full. And then this one is also growing, and it has gotten a little bit longer too. And then of course, all the plants up here have all grown so much, and not only have they grown a little bit in length, but they're growing a lot more full too. So each time that I water them, I put them back on the shelf at a different angle. That way different sides of them can each get a little bit of light, and they grow evenly all around instead of just those one long vines that each one had. They all get a little bit more full. As well as this super long one is so long, and part of it hangs over to the bathroom side, which I will show you in a bit. This one, which has gotten super long, it got like one really long vine that was actually growing in itself, and when I was watering it and kind of moving the vines around, I realized that this was actually a super long one So I kind of untangled it. And then this is one that I recently got. My mom planted a bunch of these in these little candle jars that she used and used them as decor for my grandpa's 80th birthday. What is with these helicopters? So she planted all of these. She had a few of these and then a few different plants, and everybody kind of took one home. So I took this one and I like that it was long because I knew that this one would also become a longer vine. And I also loved that it had some like speckles of like the white and the lighter green. So it gave it a bit more depth instead of just being solid green, because I felt like that would look too much like the plants above. You know, I wanna switch it up here, add some color. And also on my shelf, I have this little bamboo. Clemens got it for me at a Whole Foods, and since getting it, it didn't have any of these like top pieces. I'm sorry I'm pointing with my nose, but one hand is on the camera, the other is on the bamboo. But all these things are new since I've gotten it. And bamboo is great because it's really sturdy, so you don't have to worry about watering it too much. And then lastly, over on this side are all these vines that continue to grow, like a new one here, a new one up there, new ones everywhere. Continue to grow, and that is actually the plant that's hanging in my bathroom. So I will show you the other side right now. So here is the back of all those plants. As you can see, they've gotten so much more full to where even the back side has a lot of leaves growing. So this is great just because then they look more full, it looks more full up on this shelf, and whenever I move, then I can put them places and they won't look super sparse because I don't know what my next move is. So this is that really big one, again, growing so much on this side. This one also has a little bug trap, and what's up on there, the little dark spot on the bug thing, was when I was watering it, the bug trap got stuck to a Monstera leaf and ripped a bit of it off with it. And then this one continues down over. And the one that is now popping over to the other side is this one, and as you can see, these are all getting super long as well. And just as those vines were getting so long, I just decided to drape them over, or else they would be touching the counter. So that is what I did with those. And last but not least, the plant we're all waiting for, the Monstera. So if you saw my other update, you know that it did get root rot from my dad when it was away in Europe for a couple of weeks. So I just couldn't bring it back to life. So I did get a smaller one, so that way it fits perfectly in the white container. And when I was actually going to toss my original Monstera, I took it back to the dumpsters and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dig through and see if they all have root rot. And there were actually two like vines and root bundles that had no root rot, and I was like, these are good, these are safe, and I'm going to save them. So along with that one pothos vine, I put it in a container of water and was just taking care of it and letting it grow, and they grow so much because it had two little aerial nodes. So as long as it has a node, then that can grow roots. So those were growing roots, it was growing new leaves, so much new life. So I recently put it into this one. So that is what these ones that look a little sad are. They're actually doing really well. They're just a little floppy because they don't have the support from a higher stick. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get them to stand up without having to replace the stake, because that's kind of what screwed me over last time. So just taking care of it, watering it a little bit to make sure that they are good in the roots, and I'm just checking up on them to make sure that it is growing together and that they are doing well. And so far so good. I planted that maybe 2 weeks ago now, so I'll actually show you a quick video of me putting those roots back into this Monstera. So that is this baby, and once it's good and solid and I feel like the roots are all good together and everything's growing well, I will just put it back in the white container where it should be. But for right now I have it sitting in a trash bag just so when I water it, no water like gives it root rot again. Don't want that. And on the subject of Monsteras, my mom has a Monstera plant at her house, as well as an elephant leaf plant or an elephant ear plant. So for my birthday a few months back, she got me these little vases. One had an elephant ear leaf, a little small one, and one had a little Monstera leaf. And they were doing really, really well on the wall with all the little shelves. And recently the elephant ear leaf one started turning yellow, and I was like, okay, I think it's time here is done. And she asked me about the Monstera one, if it would grow roots or if I can propagate that. And I told her I didn't think so because it didn't have any aerial nodes, and that's really important when propagating a plant, especially a Monstera one. But what I've noticed recently is that it is. I don't know if you can tell super well, but on the bottom there, look at my face through the glass. But on the bottom there, it's actually growing roots. So I told her that, and I was like, Mom, it's growing roots. So I'll see what happens there. If they keep growing, then maybe I'll add it to that other one. But because it is such a smaller leaf, I don't think it'll get a lot of sunlight once it's back in the white container. So I'm just gonna let that keep growing, like, not mad about it. I just didn't expect that. So that is it with the plants. I'm not gonna water them or do anything with them in this video because, I mean, like, you've seen that before, you know how watering plants works. But some quick tips, those little bug fly things, while they haven't caught anything, I did get those just to help. And I'm actually out of the mosquito dunks that I would put in the water. I recently ran out of those, so I haven't been using them for about a month and a half just because I'm too lazy to reorder. But I still haven't had any mosquito gnats in a really long time, and I think that's just from being so proactive and so on top of it that there are no eggs to like rehatch, knock on wood. And still having the mosquito bits in the soil, like on top of the soil of all my plants, is definitely helping because as I water it, they do take it, like the water does take the stuff from the bits and put that into the soil. So if there were any little eggs, they are not lasting. In my last video, I also mentioned some like Miracle Grow blue stuff that I mix with the water to help them grow. And I used that pretty much every watering when I first got it, and then in the last few months I probably just do it once a month now because they are growing so much. I'm like, you can calm down, plants. But yeah, so I'm doing that about once a month, and I'm just using the mosquito bits on all of the soil. So any new plant that I also get, I throw the bits on top. Well, that is it for my plant update. I hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what houseplants you have, any tips and tricks that you have, and what you want to see more of on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.